Good morning, everyone. It's Friday morning at RVN TV and CEO Chat. My name is Joe Osmendi in the studio. I'm joined by the other half of CEO Chat, Al Cini, by remote because of the fact of the situation. And we're also joined by Holly Grants and Carlton Osborne, right outside of San Francisco in Oakland, correct?
Absolutely.
And they're president and CEO of Biome, AnimalBiome, which is really very interesting. Would you tell our audience what AnimalBiome is all about?
Sure. Thanks for having us. We're really excited to be here. AnimalBiome uses the latest microbiome science to improve the gut health of cats and dogs.
Wow.
Okay. How did you get into this?
So that's such a great way into the conversation. We know ultimately where the gut goes.
Right.
Yes.
So we're talking about one of your services is testing specimens that you collect from your pet.
That's right.
That we can then send to you, kind of like Cologuard.
A little bit like Cologuard.
Analogous to it, and then you do tests on it. What do you learn from that?
Exactly. So I don't know if everyone knows, but this is Scoop the Poop Week, and so national, not quite a national holiday.
Okay.
But the idea is that not only when you scoop your pet's poop is it socially responsible, but it's also an opportunity to assess the gut health of your pet. And so if you were to take a small bit of that poop and send it to us, we would do what's called genetic sequencing of the bacteria in the poop and be able to tell you whether your pet is healthy, if they're not healthy, in what way they aren't healthy, and what you can do about it.
Wow, that's great. So I mean, but that's not all. You also, I think, sell tablet products, I think, to correct some of the issues that you turn up in the testing.
Exactly. The way we think about it is it's assess, restore, and maintain. So assess what's going on with your pet's gut, restore it, and you can do it in a couple different ways by changing diet. And we also have a product that is a fecal transplant in a capsule. And so they use fecal transplants in humans to address C. diff infections. And they also have been using fecal transplants in veterinary medicine for hundreds of years. So we've developed a way to make that into a capsule. And that's one way of restoring the pet's health. And then you maintain it by feeding them the right food and other supplements.
How did you get?
Interesting. All right, Joe. I know you've got questions.
Yeah, I was going to say this is a fascinating subject. But how did you get into this? What influenced you?
That's a great question.
Holly is my wife. That's why we're not social distance. And she's the original founder and CEO. So I'll let her tell that.
Okay.
So I was an academic researcher for almost 20 years, and I worked on the microbiome of soil and animals, and started a citizen science project about 5 years ago called Kitty Biome, where I offered to sequence people's cat poop in an effort to try and understand what was normal for cats and how it might differ when they're sick. And what I found was that there were a lot of cats with chronic digestive conditions whose microbiomes were out of balance. And that's what led me to try and translate academic research into new solutions to empower pet parents and veterinarians to solve some of these problems.
Now, Holly, you're the chief scientist, so you get the science questions. How many samples have you had to process to get the norms for cats and dogs?
Great question.
Yeah, no, this is an important question. We've sequenced more than 8,000 samples to date. I don't know exactly at what point we could say that was enough. We continue to get samples and analyze them, and we want to have bigger and bigger data. I think we initially thought like thousands of samples would be ideal, but for like artificial intelligence, we probably need tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of samples. We already have a pretty clear sense of what the core healthy microbiome is from dogs and cats with our existing database.
Good. That's for people who are cat. By the way, are you guys cat people or dog people, or is that a bad question?
We are cat and dog people. We currently only have 2 dogs, but we love both cats and dogs.
Has asthma, so you can't have a cat.
I have a question for you.
And so your customers then are pet owners, not necessarily veterinarians?
Yes, most of our business is directly to pet parents, we call them. And although we do have about 250 veterinarians that resell our product or recommend our product.
Yeah, okay, great. So I mean, and I'm guessing this is a preventive diagnostic test?
No, so it can be used preventatively, but one of the sad facts that we've learned is that about 10 to 15 million cats and dogs are suffering from chronic GI distress. And it's not just the occasional bouts of diarrhea, but it goes on, and it really affects their long-term health. And so that's what we're dealing with now, is that core group of pet parents with very sick cats and dogs.
Interesting. So normally my cat would present, or my dog would present with some illness over a period of time, and then I would say, maybe it would be a good idea to check this.
That's right. When we speak to veterinarians, they see about 85 million GI cases a year, and about 12 million of those cases don't respond to the current forms of treatment. And so that's where our business is starting. As we grow, we believe that the test can be used to help you know that you're feeding the right food, so it can be more preventative. Right now, we're really dealing with those much more crisis situations.
Well, and it's interesting too, because it's a way to get an animal that might be off track back on track.
That's right.
By looking at something most people don't look at. So how do you collect that sample? Maybe you could just talk about the mechanics of it.
Sure. Do you want Holly?
Yeah. So we send a sample kit directly to your home. You'd like Cologuard. I haven't done that yet. You put gloves on. Most pet parents are handling their pet's poop regularly, so it's not a big problem for them. Gloves and a swab, they put a small amount, like a pea-sized amount, in a sample tube, and then they put it in a bubble mailer and send it back to us.
Okay, and how quickly do you turn that around typically?
So generally it's 7 to 14 days. About over 95% of the tests we receive, the results are provided within 2 weeks.
Wow. And you have your own lab for this, or do you use?
We do. We have our own set of instruments to extract the DNA, sequence it, and also characterize it. And we have a small team that's still operating as an essential service, because veterinary services are essential. But yeah, we've got it all in house. That's how we're able to do it so fast.
What I like about it is that it's something you can do even if you don't have a regular veterinarian, and it's testing that you can get done that a lot of veterinarians just don't do. And it's,
that's right.
This is it's an area that I don't think a lot of veterinarians really think much about.
No, we do attend veterinary conferences, and we speak to veterinarians all the time. And there's a high level of interest. And I think in 5 years, you'll be able to go to your veterinarian and get this kind of test. But right now, what we're trying to do is translate fairly basic research that Holly was doing at University of California, Davis, into a commercial product. So it's we're out ahead of most veterinarians right now, but I think they'll catch up within 5 years.
There's definitely growing interest in the microbiome in the veterinary profession.
How easy is it for the pet owner to interpret the results?
So the reality is it's not that easy. Holly and her team are really smart, and it's been a challenge to translate what they're able to surface into what the average pet parent can understand. But what we do that sort of close that gap is that we offer consultations. So when you get your report back, if it isn't obvious what you're supposed to do, you can just schedule a 15-minute consultation with our staff, and we'll explain it to you.
Okay. Another question I have for you is how long do you wait we talk about preventive and corrective actions, for instance, and this is more corrective than preventive at this point. So how long do you wait to call you or send you a specimen when you see your pet doing it? Is it weeks, or what are the telltale signs that something's wrong with your pet?
Yeah, so if you have a cat or dog, then you know that occasional bouts of diarrhea are normal. And really, when the diarrhea doesn't resolve itself after 48 or 72 hours, or it resolves and comes back week after week, then there's something going on. And with cats, it can also be hairballs. Like a lot of people think that hairballs and vomiting, that's just what cats do. But there is an excessive amount of it. And our staff veterinarian says that if it's more than once a month, it's probably an indication of something going on that you should be addressed. And so I think a lot of pet parents just sort of accept it until it becomes really bad. But I think if you follow the guidelines I just advised, whether you go to your veterinarian or come to us, you really should be much more on top of your pet's digestive health.
It's interesting because I have a couple of friends, in fact, who keep trying different things to try to make their animals happier, however you can interpret that.
Right.
So they'll try things like probiotic powder that they put in the food, and then you start seeing coincidental reactions to it and imagining that somehow they've gotten better because of that. but oftentimes what they're really doing is not seeing something that they need to see, and they're treating something that they're misunderstanding.
That's exactly right.
There's never a happy ending to something like that.
Yeah, and so probiotics, the whole idea of a probiotic is that it's a live microbe that's perceived to be beneficial given to a human or cat or a dog. And the problem with most probiotics on the market is that they were really designed for humans. And so there really aren't products for cats and dogs that contain the microbes that they need. And so you're right that if they give a probiotic and there's a benefit, it may be either transitory or illusory. And so, really that's what our test is all about, is getting to the underlying problem. And then what they may find is that even a small diet change may be all that's needed.
But this was a friend, by the way, who was working closely with their veterinarian over and over again, trying different things. And at no time did this test ever come up as an option.
Yeah,
So,
we're pretty new, so we need to get our work.
and that's I think people really need to learn about that because it's inexpensive. I think I noticed your price points on your website. We're not talking thousands of dollars. It's $75 for the test.
That's right, just $75 for the test. And as I mentioned, it's 2-week turnaround. And we think that the part of the reason it is we're not making a lot of money on it, but we do think that arming pet parents with this information will ultimately enable them to take better care of their pets. And whether that means buying supplements from us or changing their diet, that's really the end goal.
No, well, so it's inexpensive enough to, even with, let's say, a young pet, to do this maybe once a year just to stay on top of things.
That's right.
It doesn't hurt the animal. The animal's already walked away. So
that's right.
So it's an easy solution to apply. It's so clever, so smart, really.
She is.
Yeah,
We definitely think that annual testing could be a way of avoiding development of some of these chronic illnesses.
And you do it by analyzing DNA, but it's not the DNA of the animal that you're picking up. It's the DNA of microbes in the sample.
That's right. That's exactly right.
We can't use this to learn that our cats are related and both go back to a pharaoh in Egypt.
No, there's a company that does that, but that's not what we do.
No, it's I think when people figure that out, it's you detect DNA of creatures that shouldn't be in the animal's gut.
Well,
no, we're looking for the ones that should be there.
Yeah, so actually that's even more important.
Lack of those animals, of those creatures.
That's right.
Okay. Not enough bacteria in the gut of a certain kind, and that's why they're having digestive problems.
Yeah, the bacteria help us digest our food, and they help the immune system function properly, and they just play critical roles in our physiology, and that's true for pets too.
What a, and how is it evolving? Are you changing this as you learn more? And what are you finding out now that you're in the market with this?
Yeah. So literally every week we're reanalyzing our data and trying to surface insights from all the samples we received. I think one of the most interesting things we found is that a significant portion, almost 30% of the dogs that we have samples from have a kind of bacteria called E. coli. And there's good E. coli and there's bad E. coli. But what we're finding is that E. coli is one of the main drivers of GI distress in dogs. And most vets don't have tests that allow them to measure that. And so that's one of the most useful things we found out of the test.
We have to take a break right now.
And over time you learn more and more about I just want to make one more point. That is, before the program we talked about differences between dogs and cats, but regardless of breed. So whether you've got a little Pekingese or a German Shepherd, it's the same test with similar normalized results.
That's correct. And so what Holly's team has done is identify what we call the core microbiome. And so these are the groups of bacteria that are highly prevalent amongst healthy cats and dogs. And that's what we look at. You could probably see differences in breed sort of in the more rare groups of bacteria, but that's not really what we're looking at. So whether it's a Pekingese or a Great Dane, our test is just as useful.
Okay.
Yeah, that's great.
We have to take a break right now, but we'll be right back and talk to Holly and Carlton about poop. Okay.
Yeah, I know, that's no other way to put that. We'll be right back.
I want to be a contender. I want want a warm belly to sleep on.
A big house.
How do I look? Do I look good?
I want to play hard.
My nails done once a month.
I want.
I want.
I want a home.
I just want a home. I want someone to love.
Last year, more than 30,000 companion animals came to us without homes. 20,000 of them were felines. Let's make some homes together.
Hello everyone, I'm Mark Iorio. I'm the host of Rainmakers Roundup right here on RVN TV. The show is about looking for people who are in competitive businesses that are doing something different and unique in the world of sales and marketing. Join me right here on Rainmakers Roundup on Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m. and then again on Thursday evenings at 6:30 p.m. right here on RVN TV.
Today's show is sponsored by Dr. Jacqueline. Take charge of your life personally, financially.
Well, welcome back to a special edition of CEO Chat today. I'm Joe Osamendi. The second half of CEO Chat is remotely with us today, and we also have Al Cini, of course.
Thanks, Joe.
Yes, and we have Carlton Osborne and Holly Ganz from AnimalBiome, and they have a very interesting business that actually can help your pet live a happier and healthier life. And when we were talking about how this happens and everything like that, and where do you see this going in the future? What are your plans in the future to make this even a better product?
Sure. Yeah. So AnimalBiome is the first company to bring this kind of testing to the veterinary market, to cats and dogs, and we now see some of the large players in animal health starting to get very serious about the microbiome. And so in 5 years, I believe every veterinarian will understand what the microbiome is and what the role of the microbiome is in a cat and dog's health. And they'll be able to order one of these tests from their clinic, just like any other test they have. But there's a broader trend going in the pet market as well as the human market, and that's at-home testing. And so consumers will be able to get this test, basically learn what's going on with their pet at home, and then bring those results to their veterinarian to better understand what's going on. So that's what I've envisioned 5 years.
I think in addition, we're working towards microbial cocktails and sort of having probiotics that are a next generation form that contain the core healthy microbes that dogs and cats need.
Mm-hmm. I was mentioning the friends that I have who've been often struggling with a pet, not even an older dog or cat, but a young pet, where they just can't seem to figure out how to get them into balance. And there could be lots of veterinarian visits, and they could try lots of things, and it gets a little better, but then it gets bad again. And that's the problem with most people are not good scientists. Yeah. They're really not scientific about the way they approach things. They're in pain. They know their animal's uncomfortable. They want to make the animal better. And getting to the bottom of things, which I can't think of a better way to put it, but the way of testing it, actually identifying something you could do that might actually fundamentally fix. It could be a dietary change. It could be a supplement.
That's right.
And it doesn't cost much to get the information you need to fix the problem.
That's right. That's right. And so
it's nothing.
Yes, and I just want to give an example of a very low cost solution that we sometimes recommend. Mm-hmm. And as humans, we sort of know that fiber keeps us regular. Well, what we found is that in pets, there's certain types of fibers that promote the growth of good bacteria. And so sometimes that's what the test reveals, is that the pet needs some good fiber in their diet to improve their digestive health.
And it's not very much fiber. It's usually a quarter teaspoon or less.
So something you can add a little bit to the regular food, whatever that is, and also figuring out what food they really want to eat. I mean, they can't tell you. So this could, if you put them on a diet of a particular brand and you find that you test them down the road and it's not working, then you can change. And that's it. All of a sudden now you know something you didn't know before, and that means you can fix it.
That's right. That's exactly right.
That is, Holly, you mentioned you did some market research. You began to describe that. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about the demand for this.
Yeah, in the beginning we started with citizen science, and I found that it looked like 20% of the people who send in cat poop had a cat with this chronic GI problem, whether it was chronic vomiting or diarrhea. We wanted to know how representative this was. So we asked, we did some Google surveys. I really recommend those to CEOs as a way of exploring the market. Great data. We found that, between 10 and 20% of cats and dogs have these kinds of problems. And the pet parents said that they were spending thousands of dollars managing these conditions.
Is there a lot of competition in this industry?
Not today. So, I mean, there's a lot of substitute products. So I'll mention probiotics previously, and obviously there are antibiotics and other kinds of treatments that are being used to address this problem. But for a lot of pets, that just isn't working. So for that group where this isn't working, there really aren't a lot of products or services to address this. And so, but the challenge with that is that we're creating a whole new category. So most people don't even know what the microbiome is, let alone what a test might do for them. So it's a little lonely out there initially, but I think we will have competition. And as I mentioned earlier, some large companies have looked at what we're doing and want to copy us so much as to use the same images on their own website to promote their version of our product. So I think we will have competition.
Well, in a sense, then, wouldn't competition really help you because you'd get the word out on the product and the service?
That's right. Yeah, and I think it will raise awareness among pet parents that this is a problem and that there's a solution out there for them. And the smart consumers will look at our offering and the other offerings and realize not only we were the first, we're the fastest, and also we're the best. And so I think we'll win in that market.
That's good. Now, is it you developed this test yourself, correct?
Yes.
Holly did.
Okay, so I'm assuming, Holly, you patented it or trademarked it or whatever?
That's right. Yeah, so it's a lot of it is subject to trade secret or other kinds of IP protection. But what we're doing is we're open sourcing our healthy reference. And what that means is that, and a paper will be coming out later this year that sort of details this. And what that means is that really any pet food company or any company will be able to refer to our healthy reference set. And so if they did their own test, they'd be able to know whether a pet is healthy or not and in what way they're not. And we really thought that was important to establish that there is a healthy microbiome for cats and dogs and to really just enable more people to have access to it.
I mean, that's an important contribution to all pet parents.
Right.
Because, I mean, normalizing that kind of data and then making it available to everybody means we can all develop the industry in a way that just improves the quality of life for all these poor creatures. And you mentioned, I know, Carlton, you said you went to the University of Pennsylvania as an undergrad?
That's right.
Okay, they have a terrific veterinary medicine school.
They do.
Yeah, from what I understand. Are you in veterinary medicine schools or veterinarians learning how to do this?
So I was a researcher at the UC Davis School of Veterinary Medicine. At that point, they had hired their first person who worked on microbiome research. Now many of the veterinary schools are starting to hire people, and they're starting to include a small amount of content in the curriculum, but it's going to be changing in the years to come.
Okay, so gradually it's becoming a body of knowledge that people are going to want to learn about. And
that's right. And Holly's been invited to speak at veterinary conferences. And so veterinarians are learning about this when they go to do their continuing education. It's just early.
And our veterinarian is going to be teaching 3 continuing education classes through AVMA and other veterinary societies this year.
And the industry is accepting and curious, or are they critical and resistant?
Well, part of why we are open sourcing our healthy reference data set is because we are working to establish with the veterinary community the clinical relevance of our testing, which we have data to support. And we are presenting research abstracts and in poster forms at both the Internal Medicine Specialist Conference and at the main American Veterinary Medical Association conferences this year, although I think they're both going to be online given the current situation. Yeah.
So no livestock yet?
No. I mean, so we're really focused on companion animals. And so first cats, then dogs, and actually horses and rabbits and ferrets all have chronic GI problems. And so we will probably go deeper into the companion animal space before we go over to livestock. And there's some other companies approaching livestock that are starting to do a pretty good job.
You know, the pet market is really big. People really treat pets as part of the family.
I've got 2 kids, and I think I've had just about every kind of pet you can name. So except for monkeys, I haven't done that. But that's interesting. Wow.
Yeah, I think something's very interesting that Al pointed out and about acceptance, because a lot of things in medicine, whether it's veterinary medicine, regular medicine, dentistry, whatever, it seems like the whole industry is slow to change. And yet, I think what you guys are doing just sounds revolutionary to me. I mean, I don't know, but it just sounds like something that in 5 years from now, it's going to be just almost like it should have been there forever.
That's absolutely right. Your intuition is definitely right there. And you know, just from the business perspective, you see this all the time. Startups come in, they have they're told they're crazy, they're ostracized, and then 10 years later, everyone's doing it. And hopefully that startup was managed well enough to be on the top of that market. Mm-hmm. But that's what we're going to see here as well.
Yeah, I'm sure of that. And do you find your business growing? Is it demand?
Yeah, it's growing dramatically. So we're in Silicon Valley. So we are a startup that's funded from angel investors and seed investors. Mm-hmm. And so we're growing, prior to the pandemic, we were growing at 2 to 3x year over year. Things have slowed down a little bit, like I'm sure it has for other folks. Right. But what we found is that for our customers, this is not a discretionary spend. Like when you have a pet that is sick, they will divert money from other obligations to address it.
Find the money. You love that animal. Sure.
But not that much.
Well, and you don't have to be a Silicon Valley billionaire.
No.
To take care of your cat. It's very inexpensive, which I thought was remarkable. You also have one of the easiest to navigate websites I've ever seen.
Okay.
Maybe you're in Silicon Valley where they know how to make a website, but it really is very well constructed, very simple, and it's very clear. So
well, thank you. It's a constant. I'm sure as your business viewers will know, it's a constant struggle to keep your website up to date and make it easy. Sure. I appreciate the feedback.
Yeah, but you've got it. I think you guys you're pretty clear. I think you can stop now. It's actually it's actually really good.
We like to think that CEO Chad is always on the cutting edge of new ideas, and you guys really proved it. I think that's really great.
This is a fun
wonderful
interview,
thing for you to come over.
Yeah, really, definitely. And how else are you getting the word out? Are you advertising or?
Yeah, so we have a very strong digital marketing program, and so most of our customers find us on Facebook. And then they come to our website, learn about what we do. Most of the customers that come find us have never heard of the microbiome before. Right. And they use our site. We have a lot of great content. We have about 100 blog articles about animal health. And so they learn about the microbiome, they learn about pet health, and they learn what they can do about it.
Okay. Great. We're at the point of our program right now where we're going to ask you to take and basically look right into the camera there and tell people how they can find you and how they can call you and how they can get in contact with you.
Okay, great. So our website is AnimalBiome.com, and you can go there, look at our content and our products. We do have a discount code for 20%. If you're a listener, you just type in RVN-TV-20, and that will get you a 20% discount off all of our products. And so again, the website is AnimalBiome.com. And you can always give us a call at 510-250-9797. And if everyone calls at once, have some patience. We'll get back to you.
Well, great. Carlton and Holly, really, this has been a great time to talk to you folks. And this is National Pooper Scooper Week. Is that what you said it was? I think it was National Pooper Scooper Whoop or Scoop Your Poop or whatever.
Scoop the Poop Week.
Okay, Scoop the Poop Week. So, and I'll tell you something. If you ever start doing this for humans, I'll be one of the first ones to sign up, I promise.
So, definitely. Get a Hallmark card for Scoop the Poop Week.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So thank you so much for joining us on CEO Chat, and thank you out there for watching. And everybody stay safe, and we'll get through this pandemic together. And have a great weekend.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
And perfect.